Hello, welcome to Focus. I'm your host, Marc Warnock, and we're here with Cynthia Martin from the National Conference for Community Injustice. Did I get that correct?
You did, thank
I
you.
did. All right, great. So thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate you stopping in and giving us a couple of minutes of your time. Tell us a little bit about what the NCCJ is all about.
Yeah, so we're a human relations organization, and we do social justice education and advocacy work. What that means is we're trying to build communities that are inclusive for all people, regardless of their race, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their ability, any of the issues that fall under the social justice umbrella. And we've been at this for a long time. We were founded in 1927 as a national organization, and this branch opened the same exact year. And it started for interfaith dialogue, but actually in the same year, we started doing anti-racism work. We've been doing all this work ever since. So, and we cover all, just Connecticut and Western Mass.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So how did you get involved with the NCCJ?
So I grew up in New York in an all-white, all-Christian community, and I heard some things that I really didn't agree with, but I found and had no voice to interrupt those forms of bias, and I didn't really understand them. I just knew they felt wrong. And once I learned about it in college, I decided I needed to do this for my life. I needed to fight for the underdog, fight for those who have marginalized identities. I have a couple of marginalized identities. And when I realized that we were being treated unfairly, we weren't equal in the eyes of the country and through laws or through the way people interacted with us, that it was important that I do something once I found my voice. And I've been using my voice ever since. I've been doing just social justice education since I'm 30 years old. And unfortunately, that was a long time ago. I thought I should have been retired by now or put out of business, but I'm happy to see that in 2020, these subject matters are taking center stage in the dialogue in the United States on what is systemic racism, heterosexism, all the other forms of oppression. How do we do something about it now? And what are the changes we could make happen? And so it's a very exciting time to be part of this conversation and this dialogue, and to be leading parts of that dialogue, at least with corporations, organizations, and young people in Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Now, with all the stuff that's going on, as we were talking about with the pandemic, and everyone knows that everyone's working from home, most people are working from home, how has it been getting in contact with the people that you usually would be in contact with? I know you guys do a lot of at school programs and such, and with the schools being closed and everything, how have you guys maneuvered to change, to adapt to the situation we're in right now?
Oh, so it's not an easy adaptation to be doing the work that we do virtually. So it's so important that, you know, our philosophy is that you put a group of people together and you facilitate dialogue and you help break up the stereotypes and myths that we grew up learning about. When we start telling the truth, it's so important to do that in person and physically together. But since we have no opportunity to be physically together, we have just started rolling out our programs virtually. We do a 2-day anti-racism program that we will host on July 23rd and 24th, and we're going to try to roll it out in different ways. It's so important. We work with young people throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts, and so it's so important that we engage them for 2 reasons. One, to engage them and let them know they're not alone, and also to help still educate them and bring them together. One thing I've learned from doing this work, especially with young people, but at any age, when you tell the truth, when people, and you really speak the truth and start talking about the issues of oppression and discrimination, stereotyping, microaggressions, that people start to feel seen, and they start to really understand that, you know, this isn't made up in their mind. These is actually issues that matter, and there's a way that we haven't ever been taught that people start to feel better about themselves. And if we feel better about ourselves, we feel better about other people. And that's so much about our philosophy. And so we are rolling out programs virtually. We're offering some lunchtime free programs to talk about these issues, and our regular program. And since the unfortunate murders of more Black people, especially the latest George Floyd and all the uprisings and protests, we have been fielding many, many more phone calls to help people really understand this subject matter and unpack the stereotypes and myths we've all been taught.
No, I assume you guys do a lot of volunteer stuff and have a lot of people that help out with your guys' organization and all that. How has this whole situation also affected your volunteering? Like, has it cost you guys a bunch of volunteers, or has you seen an uprising in volunteering?
So we actually don't do that much with volunteer. What we have very trained, paid social justice educators and facilitators, but we do other work. So we are supporting marches and uprisings, and we are providing information. So we have become a resource for people so that we can provide them with information on how to unpack this subject matter. How do we really understand race and racism? How do we understand any of the other subject matters? So we are becoming a go-to organization on this subject matter so that we can help support other people. And that's been really rewarding.
So if someone's looking for more information about you guys, where do they go and how do they get in contact with you?
Thanks, Mark. So we are at NCCJ for the National Conference for Community and Justice, excuse me, nccj.org. And our programs are on the website, and you could link to any of our information. We also have a resource page, which has a lot of the subject matters laid out in bulletin form. And so if you want to learn something, you could come to our website and get some resources.
So if someone wanted to donate to you guys as well as that same website, everything the same?
Yes, that would be really terrific. We need donations. Of course, COVID hit us very hard, and we are a not-for-profit, so we are all done by the support of others. So it would be really terrific if people would support our work now. We have been fighting racism and all forms of oppression since 1927. So we'd like to see this company continue doing this work. We will continue doing this work. It's just a challenging time, and we know we'll still be here when we get through all of this COVID and are back together.
Yeah, so what we like to do when we end each one of these interviews is we like to ask the interviewee, which would be yourself, what is, during this whole situation, what is the one thing you're most thankful for?
Oh, what am I most thankful for? I think that the movement that's happened so that race and racism is center stage in conversation. And finally, like I said, I think I should have been put out of business years ago. It's 50 years since the signing of the Civil Rights Act, and we have seen not enough change. And now we're starting to see some change. We're seeing Confederate names and statues coming down and the conversation around what that means. We're starting to see some change to named holidays and places. We need to see so much more as far as systemic racism is concerned. I'd really like to see that the money that's been set towards policing is set towards education. And really, wouldn't it be terrific if the young people learn our history so that we don't continue to repeat our history. And these are things I'm really grateful for and excited about, because it's been a long time coming. 50 years is way too long to have waited for this change. And so much more change could be taking place right now. But the conversation on racism is center stage, and that is terrific. And I'd like to see much more of that.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do and for your organization. And thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate you stopping by and giving us some time. And we'll see you all next time on Focus.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here.